Live. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on our live session for what you do if from the IRS. Lots of letters are going out from the IRS, and people may not know exactly if they get a letter from the IRS. So tonight's presentation is going to talk about the 5 things you need to know IRS. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to bring up our All right, so here's the 5 things we want to speak about tonight. One is do not ignore the IRS. Number 2, respond to the IRS with only the information they're asking for. Number 3, the IRS does want to resolve issues with taxpayers. And number 4, IRS offers programs to resolve issues. And 5, look for an expert to handle your issues with the IRS. So let me go over my first point. Do not ignore the IRS. So upon receiving a letter from the IRS, you want to ensure that you contact the IRS with some type of communication. Most of the times at the bottom of that letter, there'll be an address, a coupon, part of the page, and you send that back to the IRS. You simply could write back on there, working with your tax person, whatever that may be. But it's really important to know what's in that letter. So let me talk a little bit about what happens if someone ignores the IRS. Many years ago, I operated a tax business, and I had a customer who walked in my office, and she was very anxious and beside herself. And she had said that she owed a lot of money to the IRS. If I remember correctly, about $40,000 to the IRS. And we began to talk about why does she owe that much, and things that happened past few years and stuff like that, and wasn't paying all of her tax out of her paycheck that she could have been. The IRS was sending her letters. She would literally just ignore them because she didn't really know what to do with them. And they began garnishing money out of her account because she continued to ignore the IRS over and over and over. And I said, only send you letters because they really just want to get your attention. And I asked her, did the IRS get your attention? And she said, yes. I said, well, that's their intent. So now from there, we have to respond to the IRS. So I wrote a letter to the IRS explaining her situation and that we're working with a tax professional now. And I would have to say that out of all the people that I've done taxes for, actually only garnished wages from 2 of the customers. Most of the time, they're really good with working with taxpayers on negotiating their debt or find a comfortable payment plan. So let me go on to the next part of responding to the IRS. Every letter that the IRS sends you has a respond date. And so as top right-hand letter, you want to respond by that date. That's really, really important. My other point was to respond with only the information that they're requesting for. You don't want to give the IRS too much information, just what they're asking for, and that's it. It can be part of a negotiating part on your part, our part, whatever, that the IRS only looking for certain information to see what they need to do next. And then just keep in mind that there are extensions that the IRS allows. So even though they say to respond by a certain date, you can actually go in and request a later date, sometimes a 30-day, back the information to them, send back a letter to them stating, I would like a 30-day extension please. And most they do honor that. Simply, they honor the fact that you just responded to their letter. My next point is talking about the IRS does resolve issues. And once I get the I'll go on here. So years and years ago, the IRS was mandated by the Congress. In 2008, there was an annual report that was given to Congress through the National Taxpayer Advocate, and they urged the IRS to take into consideration people's debts besides just the IRS debt. Let me get this moving. It's not going ahead. And so the tax court held and upheld that their advocacy and said that the IRS, by proposing to levy on taxpayers who had shown that they were in economic hardship. And so what they had to find out was right there. So the Congress mandated the IRS to say, okay, you have to take into consideration all the other debts that people hide, just IRS. That could be medical, and we'll go over a little bit of that in just a few minutes. So one of my next points here is the IRS does offer programs that are debt with the IRS. They come up with some pretty decent payment plans that fit your budget. The key is also to work with a tax professional, actually get waived by simply just accepting a payment plan that the IRS can work with you with. Another one that you can work with program is called an offer in compromise, but you have to qualify for this program. And so that's something I can help you with later on. Compromise about 80 to 90% of your debt off of the original balance, excluding your penalties and interest that's accumulated on that amount of money. The last point here is it's really important to find an expert that will help analyze your tax debt and see where you're at. It comes to me different in one way or another. It's so different. It's unique. A tax expert is really, really important. Each person's situation, particularly to every unique situation, people own houses, they own cars, and they own things, but they may not, just because they own those things doesn't mean that they have to give those up to pay the IRS. Also, I want to let you know that we let you know the total fee up front. We don't go through and add fees on later on and, oh, it's going to be this much more, this much more. That fee is negotiated up front. That's what it is. We don't add anything to that. There are some pre-qualifiers to the offer in compromise. You cannot be currently in a bankruptcy, and you have to have all the taxes filed with the IRS. That's really, really important. You know, as we go through and you want to click on sign up for a strategy session, that you'll find that link right below the video that I'm talking you through here, and you could click on that and in the comment section and fill all your information out. Put your phone number, address, email address, and give me a chance to talk to you about your tax situation. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you very much and have a great evening.